This is Sad Boy Radio.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Sad Boy Radio. I'm your host, Matt, and today I got a new guest. Her name is Mia Alva, and yeah, she's a friend of Nico's. He's actually over there, so...
Nico Supremo.
But yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a singer, songwriter, producer from the southeast side of Chicago. I recently started taking music way more serious this past year, so just to see it take off the way it has and to be here, it's awesome, dude. So thank you for having me.
Oh, no, thank you for coming out. And we planned this a month in advance, so I really appreciate you putting that down on your calendar.
Of course. Told you, man. I said, let me get this in the calendar.
Hey, she did. Before we get into it, go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. You're not going to want to miss this episode. Today, we're going to go ahead and talk about fresh starts.
Mm-hmm.
That's like something you had mentioned. You know, I tossed you a couple ideas. You're like, I like that idea, you know, new beginnings, right?
Definitely.
So to start fresh, you know, you first got to say goodbye. You know, like Chris Brown said, it's never the right time to say goodbye, but it be like that sometimes.
It be like that sometimes.
You know, deuces too. He says, I'm on some new shit, checking on my deuces. I'm moving on to something better, right? For you, what's like one of the toughest situations that you had to say goodbye to?
That's a good question. One of the toughest things is independence. So I actually had to move back home when like all this COVID stuff happened. So it was such an adjustment, dude. When you're independent, like you're able to actually completely be yourself and completely do everything that you want to do. That in itself was a huge adjustment and like definitely a fresh start like after that happened.
What were you doing before? Where were you before? You were at school?
Yeah, I was like in the north side. Yeah, I had to come back to the southeast side. Yeah, it was a big change, but it was definitely helpful because that's when I actually like really started taking music like serious.
So touch on that a little bit more. You know, how do you feel like it helped your growth?
I think it's very important for a person to go through like different phases in life. Absolutely, because you can't stay comfortable in just one spot at all because there's no room for growth there. So I feel like this big change for me, kind of like losing my independence, also created me to be like more of an open mind, have more of an open mind. And through there, I was able to like really test myself as an artist, constantly absorb all these different genres, different music types and instruments. And through there, I was able to kind of create my own sound and really experiment during that time. Experimentation, that's crazy.
Yeah, the pandemic forced a lot of people to change in a lot of different ways, right? Man, as far as new beginnings, the pandemic was like a new beginning in general, right? Mm-hmm. Because you had everything going on. It forced you into isolation, and it really forced you to reflect on who you were as a person, reflect on where you were and where you wanted to be, right?
Absolutely.
So that's like one of the biggest things that had impacted me at the time, right? I got locked up like inside the house, so I'm like, okay, what the fuck do I do? I guess by the end of that, you know, by the end of the year, it really generated the idea like, man, I got some shit to talk about. Let me start the podcast. So for you, musically, you know, how did it help you grow? You know, you said you were able to experiment. I've listened to a couple of your songs like Missed Calls, 10 I See.
Yeah.
So talk about those a little bit.
So I've always like dabbled in music since I was like 12, dude. I've been like on GarageBand messing with like loops and just putting them together. But I started off as a producer. So from there, I just had been making beats in FL for a while. And then I was like, I can sing. My goal was really to like have my own song produced by me, written by me, lyrics by me. And I really had to like take a process to get there, to have like a whole complete song done by me. I'm like a terrible freestyler. I noticed that, and I was like, damn, bro. I was like, if I'm going to get, like, serious about this, that's the first thing I need to get right, because if not, it's over. So I started, like, listening to other people's beats, and over that, either, like, mumbling a melody, and through there, like, it took me a while to, like, get the hang of that. But once I did, I added lyrics to it, straight off the dome. But that was, like, the most important thing for me to improve on, because the beat making, that's fine, you know. But it was a bit difficult once I then, like, put my own melody of my vocals and lyrics over my own beats, because it's a bit harder to hear different tones and different melodies if you've already worked for that beat for, like, 2 weeks. Like, that's extremely difficult sometimes. But, I mean, it was, like, months and months and months of, like, practice, like, Missed Calls. That thing was, like, 6 months in the making.
Yeah.
Like, all the way from the beat to, like, putting those lyrics and melodies over it. It's so simple, but like so much work goes into it.
Especially layering when you're a singer. I don't even know how people do it,
That's a
because
whole other thing too.
at least for rapping, like, you know, you got your ad libs, you got the in and outs, and that's about it. But like when you're a singer, you use your voice as an instrument, so you're literally making a whole new sound within the beat. So yeah, I don't know how people do it.
And like I think one of my favorite things to do vocally is harmonies. I'm like, oh, can I add a harmony here? Oh, can I add one there? Like, it's one of my favorite things, because just layering adds so much to the beat.
Yeah, we had another guest on. Her name's Renika. She talked about how like her inspirations were Brandy, because she does that a lot, you know. I don't know how people do it, but they got a good ear for it. Shit, that's the producer's job, right? The producer and engineer.
Right, exactly.
But going back to fresh starts, right? Usually fresh starts means cutting off a lot of people. It gives you inspiration when you're an artist, because it gives you something to talk about and an experience to talk about, right? You seem to reference that in 10IC, right?
Yeah, I do. And he
lyrics
did his
right here.
research.
It says, I know you're going to remember me. You know you messed up with me, so...
Oh,
go.
who wrote that?
Damn, who wrote that? Hey, I think it was Nico. So how do you make sure that door is closed? You know, so you cut someone off or they messed up. What are you doing?
So actually going into that song, I was like, what am I gonna write about, dude? And like I was kind of going through the stage of cutting people off, right? Because some people be playing games and then they be doing you dirty, and you can only take so much of that. Like as an individual, when you start taking yourself serious, you're like, I ain't got no more time for that. So through that, like I realized to keep that door closed, like you really have to mean what you say and like say what you mean, because if not, nobody's gonna take you serious. You tell them time and time again. You give them chances, you know. You give them chances, but if they like keep pushing your buttons,
It just sorry, it makes me want to laugh because I think about all these situations that I be getting myself into. Like, it makes me think. But you're right. You gotta mean what you say, because you say one thing and the person shows back up, and it's like, man, I know you're gonna forgive me. You know, so what are you going to do to make sure that door stays closed, right?
right?
Because even for me, it's like, you know, you always got that one person that can show up and you're going to be like, I think it's okay. You know,
It's like kryptonite.
I think I'll try again. So I think about that and I'm like,
Maybe they've changed, right?
if that shit happened to me right now, I'd probably be like, yeah, all right. But I like the idea of people seeing like what I do now, you know, how I've grown since then. So I think about, you know, a song like Bad Bunny, Soy Peor, right?
Yeah.
Says, sigue tu camino, sin ti me va mejor. Basically, you know what he's saying, but for the audience, right? He's saying that, you know, just keep on going because I'm better off without you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the start of a new beginning, the start of a fresh start, right? Because once you walk out of a person's life, once you let somebody walk out of your life, you're like, okay, what do I do next?
Mm-hmm.
How do I improve on the person I am today?
Yeah.
Bad Bunny didn't get that memo because he says I'm worse now. So
I think once that happens, you really have to like develop yourself from that. I mean, sure, you're like, oh yeah, man, I cut this person off. I feel so good. But low key on the inside, you're like, well, damn, I'm low key like feeling some type of way. You have to take that stage, I feel, in order to grow from it. Because once you're like, did I make the right decision? Once you realize that you did, I feel like it gives you a whole new confidence, like in yourself and then what you say. Yeah, it's just a process. Yet again, it's a process.
And that process takes a while. That process takes a long time because at that point, you got to do a lot of your own self-discovery. You got to figure out, like, okay, what is it that makes me happy and what's going to be beneficial for me? But like I said, I like people to see, like, damn, he's got this going on now, you know, like he's doing this now. So I'm just kind of like egotistical in that way.
I mean, I kind of agree with you, though. I kind of agree with you. Because, like, I'm never one to ever, like, block a person. They'll know I cut them off, but like I never want to block it because no hard feelings. Like you forgive, but you don't forget, right?
I mean, it's never that deep.
And it's never that deep. It's just like
at least now it's never that deep. But you know, when you go back and forth with one person for a long time, it's like, all right, I gotta delete your number. Like you're out of here. It'd be like that, you know. I know you got that missed calls. Hey, she memorizes the number, but she don't got the contact saved no more.
You exposing me. No, I'm just kidding.
I get exposed on this show every week. It's okay, man. That's just the situation, and I got another episode for that one. So if you want to be on that one too, I got you.
Let me know.
That one's gonna be Did It Even Matter?
Did it even matter?
Yeah, sad boys for real. All right, so we've talked enough about cutting people off and being sad boys. Let's move forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
Talking about starting new, right? What's a significant moment for you where you just started brand new? I know you had mentioned like the pandemic, but what's another situation where you like is significant to you? Like you remember clearly, you're like, damn, all right, this is new.
Yeah. I actually have a moment that kind of happened pretty recently.
Mm-hmm.
So that's crazy that we're having this conversation now. I was in like a really toxic relationship.
We love those. We love those.
We're in the right place. And like, bro, right before I met this person, I was like on such a high. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, like music was taking off. I was feeling real good. But like as soon as I met this person, it lasted for like a couple months, but all of my energy kind of like went there, right? Went to that relationship. That is not healthy in like anything. You really have to like remember that what your main priority and purpose is. I mean, sure, like that person can be a part of your life, but it's not supposed to only be that person, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until like a week ago where I started to realize all these really bad characteristics and traits that this person had.
Red flags.
Red flags on red flag on red flag. And I was not listening to them, right? It like got to a point where I wasn't focusing on my music. I was like lacking with like, picking up around the house. I was just like, bro, my head was somewhere else. I kept hearing it from all these different people. They're like, Mia, what are you doing? Like this person's not good for you. So many different like opinions. And I was like, bro, why is everyone like against me right now? Like, what's the deal?
So it got into your head where you're like,
oh. Every time I would say something like about this relationship, I would like hear like 30 minutes of lecturing, no matter who it was, or like I'd get like the side eye, bro. I like really got fed up to a point where I'm like, are these people like just being haters? Are they like, do they legit see something wrong?
mm-hmm.
I started like really reflecting on the relationship and myself as a whole, and I'm like, I was like, I don't feel good. I was like, I really don't feel good. And this was recent too. So like, I kind of like reevaluated myself and like the effort that I was putting in. So everything that I was supposed to, including like music. Now that like it's a new journey, like you're supposed to really like go hard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And once I like realized that everything, like I just wasn't feeling great, I was like, well, as soon as I met this person, like, bro, everything started going downhill. It wasn't until I like really had to cut that person off for me to realize and reevaluate that that was the thing that was distracting me from what really matters. As soon as I cut the person off, of course, it took some time to, mope about it.
Yeah, grieve the relationship.
Come on, grieve it a little bit. It took me a little bit, but as soon as I was like, no, like this is a good thing, bro, like I kind of just reset on everything. Like my motivation went like way back up, and I don't regret it. I mean, again, like we go through everything for a reason. Life happens in seasons, and you need those things to happen to you sometimes so that you can really start fresh, have a new beginning. New beginnings never end. Like you're always going to get them eventually. So I literally just went through one.
Yeah, cycle of change, huh?
Yep.
All right, so I'm the type of person that believes like every memory has a song that's connected to it, right? If you listen to a song right now, you're gonna think of a time like, oh, I remember when this was playing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for you, like, what's a song that signifies change? Whether that's growth, whether it's like a bad time in changing, like, you know what I'm saying?
That's a hard question. There are a lot of songs out there. I have one in mind. There's one called Change by J. Cole.
So talk about it.
Bro, I need to listen to the song.
She just heard change and said, hey, that's got change in the title. Just like you said, cutting that relationship off, that's when everything, felt like it started to connect. Back when it was probably February, It was February because it was Valentine's Day.
Oop.
Man, I was being a sad boy. And we ended up in the studio. I made a song.
That's how you got to do it.
After that, that's when it really felt like, okay, now I got time to focus on what I'm going to do. And just like you said, your energy can't go towards, one specific person, one specific thing.
Right.
At least all of it. I've talked about that a lot too, where at the moment or at the time, I think after I had gone through all that, I'm like, okay, I got to focus on what I got to focus on. I got new things to focus on. And whenever somebody would come around into my life, the podcast was a priority. School was a priority. Whoever it was that felt like, oh, you're not giving me the attention I want, I need, you got to let them know, like, hey, you can be here. You can stay around. You can stick around. We could be chill, but you're not going to be, number one. You're not going to ever, and I'm not going to say ever, but at the time, it's like, you're not going to be my number one priority.
Right.
And you got to live with that because I got things to do. I got goals to attain.
I got people to see. But I got a question for you regarding that. Do you feel like at each one of those moments there was someone new whenever you would start a new phase like that, like podcast, school?
I think that there's usually someone connected to those moments.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say at the beginning of each cycle, but within that cycle, someone new is going to arise.
Yeah.
You got to prioritize. You got to be on what you want to be on, because a lot of people will just take your energy, they'll drain you, and then what do you got left at the end of the day?
I feel like those relationships, that's really going to put you through a testing period. Because like you said, everyone's put in your life for like a reason. Mm-hmm. And when you're on this journey and like someone comes along during that, that's either going to show you if you have what it takes to really like continue on what you're passionate about, or if it's going to take you away from it. And if it does take you away from it, just remember like who you are, why you're doing your passion, and that's that. I mean,
it's tough because I think about stuff like that all the time, where I think about if I settle on this person right now, how not regular your life's going to be, because, you're going to be happy. You're going to find the love that you're looking for. But at the same time, it's like, I don't want to have a regular life, right? I don't want to just settle on by 24, 25, you're married. Then you have a kid. Then, all this shit. I talked about it early on in like the first episode, where for me, my parents, they got married. They had a kid. They got a home.
Mm-hmm.
And for them, they've achieved a lot of their goals in life. God forbid, if it were their time today, they could say, hey, I achieved this. My dad's from Mexico, he could say, he could say that, I never expected to come here. I never expected to own a house here. I didn't expect to have a family here, right? So he's achieved all that. He's achieved having a family here, owning a property here. Even my mom, my mom didn't grow up with the most things in life. She had 8 siblings and shared an apartment with them, with a single mom. And now, she achieved that. So for them, even though if they'd like to travel, like they still have that to do. But they've achieved what they wanted in life. For me, I feel like the bar needs to be higher, right? Because that's my floor. My floor is, okay, I hate to call it average, but that's an average life to me.
I get what you're saying, yeah.
That's the American dream lifestyle. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I need to go higher than that. And I can't let anybody stop me from doing that.
Exactly. I mean, if you have this, like, vision in your head of, like, what your future is going to be, or, like, a little idea of it, it's there for a reason. And like you said, you got to work your way there, and like don't let anyone stop you, or don't let anyone try and bring you down about it, because no matter what, I feel like it's always going to be in your head. And I feel like if you don't achieve it eventually, you're going to always be like, well, what if, what if this, what if that? So that's another main thing for me. Like I don't want to live with any what ifs, because if that's the case, you might not have time to like change it, or like, you can never go back to a specific moment. So
it's better to have like oh wells than what ifs, right?
Yeah.
That's the reality of it, and that's why we're here. The goal is eventually, make this as big as it can be, because, like we were talking about earlier, like consistency is key. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
And artists notice that, when you reach out to work with them, is this person posting? Is this person constantly reaching out to people?
Right.
But anyways, all right, let's get back to it, right? Actually, now that I think about it, I got a whole album that makes me think of like a signifying time of change. And it's the X album by Chris Brown. that whole album, I don't know, it represents what fall feels like to me.
Ooh.
Because at the time it had come out in fall. I don't know, man. I just remember like dark nights listening to it. And it's a vibe. A lot of artists, they take those new beginnings and they literally make it like their whole reason for living, whole reason for making music. Justin Bieber in Marriage, Lil Baby when he got out of jail, J. Cole when he left Rock Nation, right?
Mm-hmm.
When J. Cole left Rock Nation, he then went on to make 2014 Forest Hills Drive, his biggest album. Justin Bieber, all he talks about in his songs now is, being in love. I'm like, damn, dude, come on. Talk about something else, bro.
But no, definitely. I definitely resonate with that because for me, I'm not someone who, like, writes down my lyrics on a piece of paper. I'm someone who, like, lets the lyrics come from a subconscious point of view. And sometimes I don't even realize what I'm going to, like, sing about at all until, like, the lyrics just come out. And in that moment, you're like, well, damn, I have been feeling this type of way. So, I mean, that's especially true with, like, new beginnings. And, like, it's so crazy what, like, the subconscious mind can do and what it's going through during that process.
Mm-hmm.
And music is the best way, I feel, for me to, like, express that and, like, really show my emotions and let people know what I'm feeling. And hopefully through that, like, people feel the same way and I can help them through that process too.
Man, you described it perfectly, just music in general. As for the subconscious, you did mention that when you had, texted me some suggestions. So if you want to touch on that a little bit more.
I feel like the subconscious mind is something that you never really realize or like, oh, is that what that is? Because we're always like thinking 24/7.
25/8.
25/8. I'm an overthinker too, so like, but that's conscious, right? Like, it's the thoughts in your head throughout your day. But like, the subconscious mind, bro, that's I feel like the prime example of like how your life is going in that time, where you are in your personal growth, personal development. And it's just something I feel like it's so interesting because not a lot of people like are aware of it, or like not a lot of people can tap into that, I feel. And I feel like it's really important because that's where you really like realize where your true emotions and true feelings are. It's a really interesting concept.
Yeah. I'm going to have you talk about that a little bit more next time because, man, I would need to, like, think about that and get into it. But yeah. I don't know. That's just, like, something that you got to think highly, highly, highly about.
Mm-hmm.
Do your research.
Oh, no, I'm like, damn, I need to do some more research on that because there are some ways to, like, tap into it. For me, it's like, freestyle.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Freestyle for sure. There's got to be other ways. So I'm going to come back to you.
When we do the Did It Even Matter episode.
I'm excited for that one.
So on the new Ed Sheeran album, right, Equals, I don't know if you listen to Ed Sheeran like that. I do.
I know the hits. I know the hits.
Damn, you need to go a little bit deeper. But on his new album, Equals, he opens up, his new project, literally with the lyrics. I've grown up, I'm a father now, and everything's changed, but I'm still the same somehow. And that's how it feels a lot with change. That's how it feels a lot with new beginnings because shit just keeps changing. It changes. But the people around you are so familiar. The settings are so familiar that everything just feels the same, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not until you really take a look at, who you are and what you're doing, reflect on that, because that's what causes you to say, all right, I got to change everything.
Yeah.
And you still never feel different. I feel like as much as you grow, as much as you change, you're still going to reflect on who you were before and how that person still lives in you, right?
Yeah.
Man, there's probably, for everybody, there's still a little kid inside of you that you kind of suppress in a way because, you're a grown adult now. You got to do grown adult shit.
Right.
A lot of people say that you're able to be emotional, which you are, but you're not as able to be emotional as like a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like you talking on that, I see people sometimes and like, you're like, damn, life got the best of them. And because like, they're no longer that like playful, because, all the like the hardships of life, they let it get the best of them. And I feel like it is important to like never fully start, even though like it's new beginnings and stuff. I feel like you can never really just start from square one, start from scratch.
Oh, no, never.
No, like you have to bring those new changes onto you and evolve as an entire individual from that. Because, I mean, that's how you learn, that's how you grow, and I feel like it's important to always remember where you came from, especially in like your childhood. Even if it wasn't the best, I mean, you still go through those happy memories still, and I feel like you can never forget that. So yeah, that's important too.
Those moments genuinely like make who you are.
Yeah.
And that's what got me into psychology so much, because it's like, why are people the way they are? You know, what made you want to be a dick? What made you what made you a sad boy? What made you, happy all the time? Because there's a lot of people out there that are just, they radiate energy. They're so happy all the time. I'm like, why are you always so happy?
Oh my gosh.
Not to be like cynical about it, but it's like,
Yeah.
why are you always so happy? Where does this energy come from?
Mm-hmm.
Because even like when I was younger, right, I wasn't like super energetic. I thought a lot of the things that people would say or do were immature, and I'm like, why are you like this?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just how kids are. I notice that now that I'm older. I see my little cousins and I'm like, was I like that as a kid? Because I don't think so, man. They're a little weird.
Uh-huh. No.
So
I feel like I was the same way.
yeah, I don't know. I just always been like that.
No, yeah, very observant, and you're like, are these people serious? Or like, come on, bro.
So I don't think I have any more questions for you. I think we touched on, new beginnings enough, fresh starts, being sad boys.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good conversation.
It was.
With that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up, close out the show. And with that is your special item.
This is my special item.
It's a ring. It's a promise ring.
Absolutely not a promise ring. We don't do those here, okay? But there's a lot of different symbols on it. There's like greater and less than signs, and then there's a G
A G?
at the beginning of it.
It's for the person who gave it to her. The G.
It's actually really cool. So it stands for God is greater than my highs and my lows. And I feel like that's very relevant to what we just talked about in this segment. Again, we go through phases, we go through changes. But regardless of where we are in life, you need to be grateful 25/8. I feel like that's really important for me as an individual. And it's a good reminder just to have on my finger.
Just on your finger. I mean, I don't got anything, but yeah. Yeah, are you like really religious?
I am, actually.
Sorry, I do got one last question. My bad. How has that like impacted you?
I feel like that's where kind of all my musical abilities showed up, because I grew up in the church, and like through there, I was in like 2 different bands. I was playing the piano while singing, and bro, I would be the person to come up with everyone's notes, from like the bass player to the guitar to 2 different keyboards. That would all be from ear. So like I would listen to a song and I'd be like, okay, you play this, you play this, you play this. And I would sing while like doing that too. I feel like through there I was really to be able to enhance all of my skills and all of my abilities and put that into like my music now. Especially like kind of being able to like produce the beat, think of lyrics, think of the melodies. So it's definitely helped, and definitely a part of like still what I do today.
Yeah, that's dope. Man, I low-key think about that. I'm like, maybe if I joined the church choir, I would have been better. I would have been better off. XXX, he fucking started in the church choir. I don't know who else started in the church choir.
So many artists, they start in the church.
Damn. So when's the gospel album coming out?
Ooh, that's on the download. No, I'm just kidding. Soon.
You can put Nico on it. You'll have to get Bieber for it.
Ooh.
Bieber's super religious now. See, I'm telling you, man, a lot of artists make their new beginning their whole life. That like you almost forget like what the artist was like beforehand, right?
Yeah.
My bad. We're gonna get back into it. But when it signifies change, right? You always think about eras of an artist, right? So when I think of J. Cole, and it always usually has a lot to do with their look, because that's the most important part. With J. Cole, there was fresh, clean-cut J. Cole, who was like with Rock Nation. Then he started growing out the dreads and everything else. And that's when he was really his Dreamville, right? A lot of the times, your look, I guess because it is an expression of who you are at the time, right? Fashion really does help convey that message. A lot of people get a lot of different looks for it, right? Because especially in like professional settings, you can't go into a professional setting dressed like a bum like I am right now, but You got
the Romeo Santos on. What are you talking about? Don't be disrespecting.
With that being said, I just feel like, just like you said, cycle of changes, life happens in seasons.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. It's just like you said. When it's summer, I always feel up. When it's fall, I'm usually falling out of a relationship in the fall, and then winter, I'm just chilling.
That just happened, bro. We're in that cycle right now.
Spring, everything lifts back up.
Oh my gosh, that's my favorite season.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you. I really appreciate you coming out. Like I said, you put this down a month ahead, so I really appreciate that. Shout out to Nico, because Nico, I reached out to him and said, who you got for me?
No, thank you so much for having me. Truly, like, I had a really nice time. Really good to just let out all that. So thank you.
All that energy, even though you were nervous before.
Yeah, I'm chilling now. No. No, but thanks.
Yeah, of course. Did you have any projects you want to shout out? Any new drops coming?
Ooh, actually today, my boy Malo Brigade, he released a new single today, and I'm featured on it. And that's like the first song of the project, so that was an honor for me. So go check that out. I actually have a third single in the works. It's gonna come out this month, definitely in the works. Beat's done. Now we're working on the lyrics. Best for last, I got Nico Supremo. He's in the building. I'm actually featured on 2 of those songs. Yeah. So those are coming out November 6th, this Saturday. So be on the lookout. We got a lot going on right now. It's about to be dope. I'm excited.
Make sure you guys check that out. I'll go ahead and drop the link to Nico's new project this Saturday. Thank you all for watching. Thank you once again. Make sure you guys go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe. Stay being a sad boy, I guess. Peace out.
This is Sad Boy Radio.